Okay, starting off with the bang. Good for them. Hey guys, this is Jules at True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. So we have a whole bunch of files in the Idaho 4 case because the defense team, Bryan Kohberger's defense team, has finally filed the Franks motion and all of the accompanying documentation. Now, we've gone over the miscellaneous documents and the very introduction to the Franks hearing, which is literally just them requesting a Franks hearing. There's no other additional information available for the public to view for that. But the very first motion to suppress that they filed was to suppress the genetic information. Now, the DNA, the IgG in this case, has been the biggest issue. The biggest issue, and also like the strangest fight at the same time, because the state told us in the very beginning of this case that they planned on filing a motion to suppress it in general. Like they weren't going to use it as evidence at trial. They were going to put a motion of limine, I believe that's how you say it. I've had issues trying to pronounce that word correctly, but they have been claiming that they were going to file that to exclude it from being used as evidence for a long time. Like there's been so many hearings, so much money spent on that fight for something that the state is claiming that they are not going to use. The thing about the IgG and the DNA that is apparently Bryan Kohberger's DNA is that the defense has not ever stated that the DNA was not Bryan's. Ever. They just want to know how it got there. So they're not disputing that it's his. They're not claiming that it's a false read and it's not really his DNA. They want to know how it got there. Now, one of the original rumors in this case was that Bryan apparently did some sort of genealogy testing. This is something that he apparently talked to a neighbor over at his apartment building about. Now, I don't remember if they actually stated the company, but if you guys haven't seen this video, there's a bunch of stuff going on with 23andMe. And as a matter of fact, I just saw something else that I shared on Twitter about a DNA type company sort of like 23andMe, but overseas, literally just disappearing with all of their customers' data. So whenever we learned about the way that these portals are used, I was really kind of shocked, but again, not surprised to learn all of the details that we learned from Vargas. Remember that expert that told us a bunch of secrets and then the feds went to knocking on her door? Yeah, we learned exactly how there's loopholes that the government uses and are like proud of the fact that they know how to go through all of these extra loopholes and red tapes to illegally obtain matches for DNAs in cases that they're looking for matches for. Now, some people could say, so what? They're catching the bad guy. Who cares? But what if they're not catching the bad guy? What if it's not the right way to do things? Now, we didn't even know that the knife sheath existed until after Bryan's arrest and the probable cause affidavit was made public. We were originally told that the first time they tried to get a DNA sample off of it, they didn't find anything. A lot of people remember that, but those articles are kind of hard to find these days. Then we were told they found a single source DNA that turned out to be male, but they couldn't do anything further because there was no matches in any of the local systems or any of the other systems that they tried. So then the sample got sent all the way to Texas by Houston to Othram Labs. I thought maybe Othram Labs was a little sketchy, and it turns out that maybe we were looking in the wrong direction about what was actually sketchy here, honestly, because Othram actually does some really good work. They're cracking cases that are like 40, 50, 60 years old. So many, like on a daily basis, I am just seeing their portfolio grow and grow and grow and grow. Crazy, crazy cases too. One of the last ones I heard was a girl that was found in the wall in like 1945 or something like that, a whole long time ago. Her pictures were black and white. Okay, they solved that. That's crazy. So then I think back to the fact that we were told that Othram got the sample, had began working on stuff, but before they could really get to a certain point, the feds came in and basically put a work stop on everything that they were doing and took all of the files from them. And then all of a sudden, the feds are handing over this very small family tree to the Moscow Police Department, and then they basically reversed engineered their investigation based off of what the feds gave them. That's why I found it funny that Fry was trying to use the Idaho investigation as some sort of point for his campaign, because there's not a damn thing that local police department or the state did to actually solve this case if you go based off of what they've told us. They had literally nothing until the feds handed them some family tree from some DNA portfolio. And it's crazy too, because the way that we were told that the portfolios are actually put together, it goes in layers so that it can like fill in holes. But who's to say that they're filling in those holes correctly? It's like multiple versions smashed into one final product. And that seems like there's a huge margin for error there. So I'm glad I've never done any of those DNA tests. I don't ever plan to. Now, I say that, but I still believe that this is part of the investigation. This is not a tip that was sent in, because that's the fight, that this isn't actually part of the investigation. It's not technically evidence. It was a tip that was submitted to the police department by the feds, but the feds were actually working the case, were they not? They were on scene like hella quick, and they were helping really, really fast with almost every facet of the case. So why wouldn't it be considered evidence? Why would you want to categorize that as a tip whenever they were actively helping in the investigation? Now, when it comes to the document for them wanting to suppress the genetic info, it is very short. And there's no additional page 3 that says that something is going to be submitted. So I'm going to assume that whenever this stuff gets hand delivered on the 18th, where they're claiming that we're still not going to be able to see their reasoning, because they're not really giving it here. They're just blatantly stating that it was illegally obtained. Motion to suppress genetic information. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger through his attorneys of record and moves to suppress all evidence illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. This motion is made pursuant to the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 117 of the Idaho Constitution. A memorandum and exhibits are filed contemporaneously in support under seal. This motion is being filed under seal pursuant to the Honorable John Judge's previous order stating that pleadings related to this motion be filed under seal until the court could review the issues and argument filed. Are they going to argue to lift it? To not seal stuff? I hope so. The under seal memorandum and exhibits are being provided to opposing counsel and court staff via email on the date of this motion. Hand delivery to the court for in-person filing will occur no later than November 18th, 2024. I am excited. It sounds like it. I could be overthinking. I could be overreaching, but does that not sound like she's like, per the other judge, per the one who's retiring, which, by the way, let me just mention this since we're talking about the genetics real quick. In case you missed it, Judge is retiring, which is really interesting because it's coming so soon after he passed this case on to Boise. And the reason why I'm mentioning it right now in this IGG genetic material suppression document video, okay, is because he was able to see all of the IGG information before the defense was able to. And then he was able to cherry pick what the defense was going to be allowed to see. Now, I'm wondering if he is aware of the illegalities that the defense is talking about in this document, because that would be really, really interesting to know if he knew. But with that being said, that's it for this one. I really, really thought that the state was going to file their motion of limine before the defense could do anything about anything. But I guess it does make sense for them to want to suppress it if they do feel like it was obtained illegally. Now, look, you guys, I have been really, really, really trying really, really, really hard to not drop my theory out here about what I actually think happened, because I don't want to be a hypocrite, because I have come out and called it immature, irresponsible to come out and point fingers at things. I'm trying to figure out a way to put it together without really pointing fingers at people. And if people start getting talked about in the comments of the video whenever I choose to post it, then cool. I'm going to leave whatever I need to up to interpretation. But I think at this point, I need to come out and actually give you guys my theory. I think I kind of owe you guys that. You guys sit here and listen to me talk about this case constantly and pound down on facts all the time and argue people based off facts that we have in documents, things that we have heard in court hearings, things that we know to be true to the most truest that they can be at this point in time, right? I can't sit there and have all of those things constantly rolling around in my head and not have a theory. The problem is that my theory is really detailed and goes really, really deep into some very scary things. And I think that that's the only way that I can do that is like the only way I can bring it out and talk about it is by just being very careful about how I talk about it. I feel just in cases, but it's going to be a one-time thing. I'm not going to do any elaborate deep dive video, anything. Okay. If you've been here and you've known about this case for a long time, then you know the details. And if you have questions about facts, I have videos about everything that we've been told as a fact in this case. Now, I will bring the receipts I need to bring for the reasonings why I am shoestringing things together the way that I am, but only as much as I possibly need to, because I'm not going to turn into one of those channels. I'm just not going to do it. But you guys ask me constantly, pretty much in every video I get asked. I get emails, I get messages on Twitter, even on TikTok. What is your actual theory? What is it that you actually think? I can do that. I can give y'all that. I just have to figure out how to do it. And I'm not doing it until after we're done with these documents, because this is important information. And I want to make sure that before I give my theory, that it still matches with all of this very much new facts that we hopefully will get in some of these documents, because that one might have only been a page, but the Amazon one, and this isn't going to show on screen, but the Amazon one is 15 pages. The one for the apartment is 12. The one for Apple is 20. Okay. The one for the first AT&T warrant is 19. See what I mean? So once we get done with these, I'll give y'all my theory. One time. That's it. But let me know what you guys think about this so far and the previous documents that we talked about. And what are y'all expecting to see in the ones that we still are going to be talking about? I mean, if y'all want to go ahead and ruin it for everybody else, go ahead with all the spoiler alerts down in the comments, because we are going to be going through these one at a time to make sure that we give each one the attention that it deserves. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments so far. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. And please make sure that you have that notification bell set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.